Hello everyone and welcome to Black Ops 3 for Dummies. Today we're going to be covering Search and Destroy, and we're going to be covering it as though we're playing in arena mode, so some of the information may be a little different than pubs, but most of it will still be applicable. Let's get to it. So the first thing you're going to do is set up a class, and obviously the classes will change once you start the banning and protecting process. But the first thing we'll do here is set up a basic class that you can use until that stuff gets banned and you know what you're allowed to use. And when it comes to weapons, weapons are very subjective. I personally like assault rifles in Search and Destroy. I like SMGs for any other game mode, but I'm not sure why. I just like the assault rifles. So we're going to go with the XR2. And the optics I like to use are the Elo sight and stock. Again, that's subjective, that's personal preference stuff. When it comes to perks, you're going to want to use awareness perks. You want to know where the enemy is, and you want to keep the enemy from knowing where you are. So for Tier 1, my favorite perk is Sixth Sense. And Sixth Sense is great for objective modes because there are times when like the bomb is really close to a wall. So rather than being in the room with the bomb, you go and you plant next to the wall, and your sixth sense will allow you to know when the bomb is being planted or disarmed, and you can go in and kill them very easily while they're messing around with the briefcase rather than trying to win a head-to-head gunfight with them. I'd use this strategy quite a bit on most maps, and it's almost always effective. For Tier 2, I like to go with Tracker, and Tracker is a perk that I like just in general. I use it in every single game mode, but it's very powerful in Search and Destroy. I wouldn't be surprised to see this perk get nerfed simply because it is so powerful. I get a couple kills with it every game in any game mode just because I know where an enemy is going to be. I could see the footprints from practically across the map. Until, once people start realizing how powerful it is, I think it's going to get nerfed. Tier 3, you want to go with Dead Silence, obviously, because footsteps are so loud in this game. Dead Silence is almost a must-have for anything. The only thing I won't use it on is something like Capture the Flag, where you're moving so fast it doesn't really matter where your footprints are. And if you have a headset, I strongly suggest going with Awareness because obviously, you can take away their ability to hear your footsteps, but, it's always nice to hear theirs. It basically lets you know exactly where they are depending on the quality of your headset. And if you don't have a headset, I suggest you get one very soon because headsets are really, 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 really strong for Call of Duty. But if you don't have a headset, then I would rather go back to perk 2 and select Hardwired. And the reason I like Hardwired is because it is the counter to Tracker and Sixth Sense, and it also keeps you from setting off proximity mines, which are really good for Search and Destroy, and we'll cover that in a second. But of course, me using a headset, I'm going to set it up with awareness. And for my secondary, I like to use a launcher, and you'll notice I didn't use Ghost. And the reason I didn't use Ghost is because A, Ghost is kind of weak in this game, and B, launchers are just better counters to UAVs. You think about it, if somebody puts up a UAV and you have ghosts, great. You are not showing up on the UAV, but your entire team is, and that is really bad for you because in Search and Destroy, you can end up in a 1v4 or 1v3 pretty quick because the enemy knows where your teammates are. But if you have a launcher instead, A, UAVs are really easy to shoot down. B, you're getting points towards your score streak for shooting it down, and C, you're keeping your entire team off the enemy radar instead of just yourself. And I don't usually use equipment, but I really like the trip mine for Search and Destroy. And the reason I like it is because trip mines don't go away until you respawn. And in Search and Destroy, you don't respawn until the next round. So you could throw a trip mine, then die, and it'll stay there until it blows up or the round ends. And you could still end up getting the final kill and saving the round for your team simply because you used trip mine. So moving on to ban and protect. I've said before, I don't like to ban or protect weapons in the game because weapons are so well balanced. There are some weapons that are better than others, but none of them are going to make or break anybody's class if they can't use it. So I skip over the weapons, and I like to go with Search and Destroy. There are several things that have to be banned, and they usually are. You usually don't have to worry about banning Vision Pulse or UAV. Those are almost always going to get banned on their own. What I like to ban are things that are really going to affect other people's classes. So I go for wild cards, and for Search and Destroy, I especially love banning Tier 3 Greed. Because what Tier 3 Greed does is it forces them to choose between Dead Silence and Awareness. They can't have both of them. And that will really mess up people's classes. But if I'm near the end of the list, and I do this for any game mode, if I'm near the end and a lot of people have banned or protected weapons, then I know that they value their weapons more than just about anything else, and I will then ban Primary Gunfighter 1, because that limits them to 2 attachments, and that can really mess with people's class setups. I've found. I've even been cursed out over voice chat from members of the other team when I banned Primary Gunfighter 1, so that's pretty funny. And it lets me know that I did a good job, because I really want to mess up everybody else's classes. And your goal here is try and remain fluid. Don't get sucked into one gun or one perk or one attachment or one kill streak. Try to remain as fluid as possible so that other people can't mess up your game too much with their own ban and protects. So up next is the Specialist draft, and your selection of Specialist is pretty important in Search and Destroy, more so than other games. And there's a couple things I want to highlight here, because I see some things being overlooked and some things being overvalued in the Specialist draft. So number one, I don't understand the appeal of Overdrive, and I would like for anybody who uses Overdrive in Search and Destroy to leave me a comment letting me know why they use it, because to me it seems like the strategy would be get the bomb and use Overdrive and get it planted as early as possible. But that seems like a counterintuitive plan, because yeah, you're going to get to the bomb site before the enemy, but you're also going to get to the bomb site before your friends do, which means that you're going to be alone at the bomb site. And once the bomb's planted, the entire enemy knows where it is. Because, if you wait a little bit, the enemy team has to spread out and cover both A and B. But if you rush straight to the bomb, the entire enemy team knows where the bomb is, and you're going to be 1v4 until your teammates show up, and that just seems like a bad plan. Next is, obviously, there's a couple of them that are just good for Search and Destroy. There's nothing wrong with using them. I see a lot of weapons, things like the Purifier, the Annihilator, Gravity Spikes, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're fine. And I see a ton of Vision Pulse, and obviously if Vision Pulse doesn't get banned, then you did something wrong, because it is really, really powerful for Search and Destroy. If it's available, you have to use it. But I usually just consider that one not even part of the game, because it's always banned or picked before I get to. Now, my personal favorite is the Hive, and the Hive is the ultimate defense specialist for Search and Destroy, and the reason why is, just like I covered earlier with the trip mine, how it doesn't go away until you respawn, it's the same thing with your Hives. So what you can do is, when you spawn in on defense, you can go straight to one of the bomb sites and surround it by Hives, and then even if you die later on in the game, those Hives will still be there. You pretty much have that bomb site locked down, and if you plant them intelligently and strategically, then there's no way that they can get to that bomb site alive. And the strategy is you want to place them as far from the bomb site as possible, while at the same time covering any path to the bomb site. You don't want to just sit there and surround the bomb by Hives, because then they'll just blow them all up. And you want to put them on the inside of doorways and things like that, where they don't see it until they've already gone by it. And it's pretty much a guaranteed kill. It's very hard to outrun a Hive. It's possible, but it's very hard even if you know the Hive is there. So it really is an unbelievably powerful specialist for Search and Destroy, and it's one that I never see get banned or picked. So you don't really have to worry about somebody picking it before you, and you don't have to worry about trying to protect it ahead of time. And it's probably going to be that way for a while, because people for some reason overlook the Hive, and the Hive is a really good specialist in general, but in Search and Destroy it is second only to the Vision Pulse in terms of just, I don't want to keep saying overpowered, but let's just say in terms of effectiveness. So the last thing is score streaks. And when you think about it, in Search and Destroy, you only get 4 kills per round max. So I wouldn't worry about any higher score streaks. Stick with things like the HCXD and UAV. Now, UAV, again, usually gets banned. So HCXD is really good because you get to go out hunting for people without being at risk of dying yourself, as long as you strategically place yourself in a place that is out of the way and you're not going to get noticed by the enemy. And the care package, because the care package is a lower streak. I think it's what, a 6 kill streak, I think maybe 6 or 7, so it's earnable in Search and Destroy, and it has the potential of giving you something really useful. So now let's talk about the actual game for a second, and we'll just cover the basics here. You're gonna play both offense and defense. It's gonna be 4v4, and the way that you can win, we'll talk about offense first. On offense, you can win by killing the entire defensive team or planting the bomb and defending it until it explodes. Now, it takes 5 seconds to plant the bomb, and once the bomb is planted, the round will end in 45 seconds tops. If you plant the bomb at the beginning of the round, then it'll end in 45 seconds. If you plant the bomb with 5 seconds left in the round, then the timer will be extended for 45 seconds, so it'll always take 45 seconds for the round end after the bomb is planted unless it gets disarmed. And on defense, the ways that you can win are kill the entire offensive team before the bomb is planted, or disarm the bomb after the bomb is planted. Again, the bomb will last 45 seconds once it's planted, and you have 5 seconds to disarm it. And once it's armed, it will tell you which bomb site it's at. So if somebody arms it on bomb site A, bomb site B will be removed from your mini-map, and you'll know that you need to go to A. So those are the basics. That's how you win. Oh, it also takes 6 rounds to win as of right now. I believe that could change. I think it's already been changed. It seems like when the game first came out, it took 4 rounds to win. I could be wrong on that, but it takes 6 rounds as of right now to win the game. And again, you alternate on offense and defense. And one last thing I'll say, and this is a strategy I've not tested out yet, but it seems like it would work. On defense, you want to split up between the 2 bombs, obviously, so that you have people covering both sites. So if you're at B and you hear gunfire at A, go to A, because the enemy team will almost always go straight to the same bomb site and try to 4v2 and win it. So odds are if gunfire is going on at A, it's not going to be planted at B. And likewise, if you're on offense, something that I have been thinking about doing but haven't had a chance to yet, partially because I'm always playing with randoms and partially because I hadn't thought of it until I was recording this video, go 3 to 1 site. So if you decide that A is where you want to plant the bomb carrier and 2 other people go towards A, and send 1 person over towards B, and have that person just start firing his weapon as though he's attacking somebody. He doesn't even have to be attacking anybody. Just let him go over there, fire his weapon, and wait 10 to 15 seconds, and then go into A, because there's a chance that everyone will be rushing over to B thinking that that's where the bomb's going to be planted because there's gunfire over there. So just food for thought, maybe try it out. I don't know if it'll work or not, but it sounds like a decent strategy, and it might work. So thanks for listening and watching. I hope this video is helpful to you, and hopefully you learned a few things. If you haven't figured it out yet, Arena mode is basically Search and Destroy or random. The only time you're not going to be playing Search and Destroy is if everybody votes random and it comes up uplink or capture the flag. And if it does that, half your team's going to quit anyway. So you really need to know Search and Destroy. This was my weakest game coming in, and I've actually gotten fairly decent at it simply because it's all we ever play in Arena. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at TheRealJDodds1 and keep your eyes out for future Black Ops 3 for Dummies. I plan on releasing one per weekend until I've covered all the subjects I feel like covering. Goodbye.